2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
That's it.
All right. Hey, welcome to 2414. My name is Dan Weber, sitting across from my friend and coworker and co-host, Shane Walter Welter. Thanks for being here, Shane.
Yeah, hey.
Today's episode is going to be different in a number of ways. We don't have any special guests, which is kind of sad, but it'll be okay. It'll be a shorter episode. We're gonna break tradition because there is freedom, and we're gonna skip highs and lows.
Yeah,
I care, Shane, but
I think it's important too. But it's a different episode anyway.
Yeah, just a short little pre-Christmas special.
But the irony, breaking tradition, and just kind of talk about some tradition.
To talk about traditions?
Yeah,
that's great. So we're gonna share just some of our Christmas traditions and how we navigate the holidays in a little bit, in just a brief moment here, brief episode, and then we're gonna get on to our Christmas preparations and celebrations. But before we get into that, Shane, I do want to hear about your Christmas traditions, but I wanted to take a moment and share a couple complaints.
Oh yeah, go ahead. That's what this is for.
That's what we're here for. So I've been listening to a lot of Christmas music. Some of it I love. We shared a couple weeks ago. There's certain songs that I'm not a fan of.
No, I think there's some terrible.
But I've been struck this week by a couple lyrics that have really bothered me.
Yes. Which songs in particular?
And honestly, I don't. And this is weird because I feel like. How do I say this gracefully? I feel like there are a number of situations in life where people have the same conversation over and over again. Like there are certain people that I know they have a question about the Bible or a complaint about a thing, and they bring it up every time we're together, and it's no longer a real question or conversation. It's just like they
just like to complain, kind of thing. Yeah.
So what I'm going to share here, these aren't perennial things of every single year Weber gets all grumpy about this thing. They've stuck out to me recently, and I just wanted to say them aloud. We don't have to dig into them. Maybe our listeners understand the backstory of some of these things, but I just want to say these things and move on. I'm not going to bring them up again.
We're going to pretend there's no backstories. We're just going to roll.
All right. So the first a strange Christmas lyric to me, and we're not going to do any post-production. Like if we were a real podcast, in like post-production, we'd add the music. I'm like, just take a listen here. But we didn't preload that into our...
Didn't think that far ahead.
No, we definitely not.
I wish I had a campfire sound effect. That would have been...
We have story time with Dan. So there I was.
Nailed it.
So there I was, driving, where I'm driving. And I hear... So the first of my two grumpy words lyrics is one of the Rudolph songs. I don't even know which one, but it's like... You've heard of Dasher and Prancer and Donner and Vixen and Blitzen, whatever the names are. Like, you've heard of these. Like, by the way, if you ask me, can you name all the reindeers? No. Right? Maybe you can.
It'd be like a process of elimination.
Okay. That's like the seven dwarves. Can you name
Dasher,
them all?
Blitzen.
Right. There's a bunch.
Gary.
How many are there?
I just thought there was 8.
Is it 13? I would have said like 12 plus Rudolph.
8, not including Rudolph.
Okay.
Neither of us know. All right.
Cool. Comment below if you know all the reindeer. But what annoys me is the song is they go, you've heard of these super obscure ones that nobody remembers.
Dasher and Blitzen.
Yeah. You've heard of these ones. But, my friend, have you heard of the most famous of the reindeers of them all? What kind of stupid question is that? Like, you've heard of the obscure ones, but do you know the one everybody knows? Yeah. By definition, the famous one is the one that's famous and is known.
But I also love that the song introduced Rudolph. We looked it up a a few weeks ago, actually, Lauren and I.
Okay.
The song introduced Rudolph. So the fact the song says, have you heard of the most famous reindeer of all? No, nobody had up until that point.
So the songs where Rudolph was invented and
Yeah.
and thrust upon the world.
Yeah.
All right. I don't get it. It seems like lazy songwriting to me. Like it just sort of the meter worked and the composer was like, good, great.
I think so. Just the most famous reindeer of all. Obviously, he's not, but he is now, I guess.
It'd be like if we're talking about American politics, and I'd be like, okay, you've heard of Taft and Fillmore, but have you heard of Lincoln? Like I know you've heard of some of the, all the Roosevelts and all these obscure presidents, but have you ever heard of a guy named George Washington? Yeah. Yeah, of course. Like, it's totally backwards. You know Rudolph. You don't remember Gary or Blitzen or,
Gary is not one of the reindeer.
Gary's probably not one of the reindeers. So that's one of my annoying lyrics right now. Every time it comes on, I can't listen to that song anymore. It's ruined it for me.
That's fair.
I just turn it off. I'm sure the song is fine, and maybe there's a great reason it was written that way. But when he says, "You've heard of these obscure ones, but have you heard of the most famous one?" What a stupid question. Gosh. All right. All right. We can move on from there.
It's not on your favorite.
No, that one's off. That's dead to me.
It's dead.
And then the other one, this is more of a question than a pet peeve. And again, I can't think of the tune right now. Shane, you can sing it for us. But it's the do 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 do.
Oh, that was good.
But there's a line in there about sitting
it's
around.
The most wonderful time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
What it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you celebrate the most wonderful time of the year, how often do you sit around telling scary ghost stories? Has that ever happened?
I think only for a Christmas, like Scrooge. I think that's the only.
Is that scary even?
Well, if you're a little child, and depending on which of the variation movies there are, that
all right.
Some of them are pretty terrifying.
Scrooged with Bill Murray's got some scary moments in it.
I mean, especially with the Ghost of Future or whatever, the things to come. Like that's always depicted by the Grim Reaper. That's pretty terrifying as a child. But that's again that I'm watching that. We're not.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't said the lyric yet.
Well, it's like scary ghost stories.
So
right?
yeah. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago.
What's that all about?
I don't know.
I've never had a Christmas celebration where we told scary ghost stories of the past. I don't even do that at Halloween. I mean, I can see that. Though, like Halloween, that makes sense. People might tell scary ghost stories.
Yeah, I think the only time I've like sat around a campfire telling scary ghost stories was like camping with your like siblings or close friends, and they're trying to scare you, kind of thing.
Right. That's like a summer activity.
Yeah.
So Christmas as the most wonderful time of the year with sleigh bells and all these things. Oh, and also scary ghost stories. Maybe I'm just lazy. I didn't Google it. Maybe there's some tradition and some observation where people did that.
And maybe it's tradition at your home.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe that's your tradition. Because traditions have come and gone. Like they used to
That's true.
People used to put like real candles in their Christmas tree. Isn't that crazy?
That is
like lit candles.
Like that sounds such like a dumb idea. Like looking back, like
it didn't end well. That's why it changed. Yeah.
Good.
Also, people made popcorn garland. Like they'd sew popcorn together. Like
I remember that from like old children's books.
Yeah.
And another one too. I remember last Christmas I was looking.
Last Christmas you gave me
terrible song.
Yep.
Okay,
I don't like that one either.
All right, good. But like books from like 1930, 20, or like music books, and there was the song "Angels from the Realms of Glory."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but a completely different tune.
Oh,
and I did not. I don't remember how it went or when I was looking at it, but I was like, this weird. It was just so weird because like I saw several different like caroling books and whatnot that had that same tune of "Angels from the Realms of Glory." And it was so weird because I'm like, people grew up with this.
Weird.
Like in less than 100 years ago, people were oh, you know, Angel from the Realms of Glory? Oh yeah, it goes a completely different. Yeah, something completely different. And like, wow, like, yeah, traditions really do just like, I guess if you're bunching music melodies and tradition, but like that's what people grew up with.
I've done the opposite with that same tune where there was a hymn about, I can't remember which one now, but it was an unsingable melody, and so I wanted to sing it. So I was like, oh, this is the same meter as Angels from the Realms of Glory. Yeah. So we'll just do that one. So for me, in my context, Angels from the Realms of Glory is so known, I can substitute that on top of another song and ignore the black dots on the lines, and people can go, we know that one, so just sing that.
And it's so associated. If you just heard the melody, do 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 do, you know, oh, that's the Angels from the Realms of Glory. Yeah, like that's what it's associated with.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's weird.
So so certain traditions. So I can visualize from books or movies people making popcorn garland. Even though I've never done that, I can understand that tradition. I've never told ghost stories at Christmas. And I've never heard of anybody who has.
Well, in the same thing, the one I always found weird ever since I was a kid, and I'm sure it's a thing, but the Christmas song, Nat King Cole, "Chestnuts roasting on an open fire." Do people do that?
That makes me think of New York City buying like hot dogs on the corner.
Like you've got the chestnuts on a stick, like roasting on a burner.
I just picture like a trash can fire, and
like that kind of.
I don't know. I picture a vendor on the corner of New York City, like selling as you're walking by. You know, they got the horse-drawn carriage you can pay for, the happy cab or whatever it's called.
Selling chestnuts.
And then somebody else like, oh, we should get some chestnuts while we're walking here.
Are chestnuts supposed to be roasted?
I've never.
Do you get like salmonella if you don't?
Salmonella.
Like, is that a thing?
Salmonella is a thing.
Well, okay. Like, whether you have to cook your chestnuts
from raw chestnuts, I don't know. And do you have to like, are they in a shell? Like pistachios or walnuts, you have to like extricate them.
Don't ask me what a chestnut. Okay. I'm probably the worst person. My nut knowledge is not
all right.
Great.
All right. So I don't know anything there.
All right, we're useless.
It's like Christmas
listeners
thing.
At home are crying because they're like, "Gosh, no, this is
you guys are
a long-standing tradition in
so dumb
America."
All right. Well, how about this, Shane? What are maybe instead of a generic tradition question, when do you open stockings and presents if you do those sorts of things?
So I know it's different for Lauren, my wife, and Lauren, my wife,
because you're married. This will be your second Christmas together.
Yes.
Okay. So you're still kind of figuring that out.
Yeah.
And you're a church worker now.
Yeah, that's so. All traditions I ever knew is just gone.
Yeah, it's all out the window.
But what was that? Sorry, I had a thought.
Stockings, presents.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll kind of speak more into what my traditions were growing up as to what they are now. Because
your childhood long ago.
Yeah. Because Lauren and I's traditions, they're still formulating and.
So you're a kid,
shape.
You finish your chestnut meal, you wrap up the ghost stories. Before you open your first present, you have to tell a ghost story.
Yes.
And ring a silver bell.
Yes, silver bells. No, okay. At the Welter household are some of our like early traditions. The one that stands out fondly in my mind is opening one gift on New Year's Eve.
Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve?
Sorry, Christmas Eve, yes. Yeah. All right, we'll re-say that. We open one gift. We get to choose one gift to open on Christmas Eve. Okay. And then on Christmas Day, well, I'll back up. So we open one gift on Christmas Eve, and it goes youngest to oldest. That's how we've always done it. So I'm the second to youngest in my whole family.
You're on deck right away.
Yeah, so I'm always like the first. I open a gift and then we go, but it's always exciting because like as a child you try to pick out the either the biggest gift or the heaviest gift or the most unique gift under that tree, and sometimes it's a hit or miss. You want to get a cool one, like you don't want to open the gift that has like like a shirt in it. Like, oh, dang it. Like, I can't play with this. Like,
Sweater.
yeah. And then like,
Thanks, Grandma.
whatever that gift is, I open, like I play with that until I fall asleep waiting for Santa. So, but Christmas Day, most of the time we'd have a destination we'd go to. So there was one normally that was my aunt's house who lived nearby, and all the family would bring all their gifts to her house.
Okay.
So we got, like 5 different families and a bunch of kids, people just like in this house.
Sounds loud.
All the gifts are piled, or like we start divvying out the gifts. All right, I got a gift for Aunt Candy. All right, I got a gift for Zach. Here you go. And like you start like passing the gifts, and then soon you got like piles of gifts because you got a big family. You get a lot of gifts. It's a nice side of big family.
Yeah.
So you got these big family, and then we do the same thing. All right, youngest to oldest, and then we all watch.
Okay.
Like, all right, everybody watches them. All right, what'd you get? Oh, cool. And all right, and then then it's you, and then you're like, all right, you pick out of the pile. All right, this one. You try to like do coolest to least cool wrapping and whatnot. So, and basically it gets to a point where I think like.
It's hard to wait when you're a kid. If you're waiting for 20 other people, you just start.
What's surprising? Everybody waited.
Oh wow!
Everybody waited. It did get to a point where like some people would start getting knocked out. Like they didn't get as many gifts.
Oh, that's brutal.
And that's just how it works.
That's just life.
So the adults would normally get knocked out first. It's like the middle
first one eliminated. Oh man!
But then they're just. I didn't think about it. I was the youngest, so I got, some of the most gifts. So
last man standing.
Yeah.
Well done.
But there was a point where it's like, all right, if you still got gifts, just open them all. And so
we're tired of watching you.
Yeah. So there's that tradition.
Okay.
The other tradition I'll speak into that is weirdly a Wisconsin tradition, and I'd have to look at the date, but it's St. Nick's Day.
Okay.
Have you heard of that from St. Louis?
No.
Okay. It might just be a Wisconsin thing.
Is it St. Nick or Nicholas?
We called it St. Nick's Day, but it's referring to St. Nicholas. Okay. And what it was is on like December 14th, 15th, St. Nick.
That's today.
Is it? Okay. So
we're recording this potentially on St. Nick's Day if Shane has his facts even close.
It could be earlier, it could be later, but somewhere in December. Instead of Santa, St. Nick, apparently there's a difference. St. Nick would come to your house, and he would leave smaller gifts in the stockings. And so one morning, I'd wake up as a kid and be like, it's St. Nick's Day. And like our stockings are just stuffed to the brim with candy and a small, cool toy that... And it's just like a little like ante up before Christmas. It's like, oh, sweet.
Little appetizer.
One of the iconic gifts in that was orange chocolate.
Like the one you like broke and then it
yes,
whack it and unwrap it.
Yeah. Super.
My mom loved those.
Yeah. And those are super nostalgic to us for St. Nick's Day for whatever reason.
Okay.
And it was funny because we always hung the stockings above like the chimney, and we had like stocking holders. But when St. Nick's came, it overweighed those metal things, so they had to rest on
crashing down.
Yeah, so they had to rest on the floor.
That could be dangerous, by the way, when those the stocking holder things come down on you.
If somebody pulls on So it was also funny because we had there's 5 kids in my family, including me, and we had a letter for each of our names of Santa, so it was S-A-N-T. Yeah. And sometimes some of us would be naughty and rearrange the letters. But
by the way, Shane, if we had been better prepared, we could have had stockings instead of the board games from our series like 4 months ago.
Board games are part of Christmas traditions.
Okay.
Like you got to play board games with family.
That's not why they're up there, though.
Don't tell our listeners. We planned this. This was part of it.
Yeah, we when we began the board game series, the tabletop games, we intentionally said we're going to leave this up till Christmas and really bring the storyline full circle.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So I just spewed out a ton of weird random traditions.
Oh, that's really cool. I never had the St. Nick's pre-Christmas celebration.
Yeah, and I think and the older I get, it sounds like it's just a Wisconsin thing, which is weird, but as a child, I love it. More gifts kind of thing.
Traditions are interesting to me that we can sort of look back and say or diagnose like what's the origin of Saint Nicholas and the guy coming down the chimney. Like we could do a historical study of like where this came from. But also, as you were describing that, it's pretty amazing to me that it's stuck and is as widespread as it is. Like it's a really weird thing.
Yeah.
Just that whether you kind of engage in sharing this with your kids and making a big deal, or speaking against it, or just kind of ignoring it, that like everyone, and maybe not everyone, but many people throughout this enormous nation that we live in here in America, like most people know something about this Santa Claus character.
Yeah.
Like probably more than what previous generations would maybe know of like Greek or Roman myths, like they knew the different Greek or Roman gods. And I never had that class, so I don't know the Greek and Roman gods. But everybody today knows Santa. It's a weird thing that it's stuck and is as spread and sort of in our culture as it is, because at the same time, nobody really cares. Like, I mean, in the sense of like, in the sense of, for a long time, those Greek and Roman gods, like people worship them, and maybe people today still do. I guess maybe horoscopes are related to that, but for a long time in human history, people believed in Zeus and Jupiter and Mars as these gods, that they actually worshiped them as deities. And so it made sense. Yeah, of course that's part of the culture. But I don't know if we have too many children listening here. I think, is this okay to say? Edit it out later if we need to. But I don't know of any adults who actually believe in Santa, or even any adults who think, you know what, even though I don't believe, I think this is really important for our kids. Like, that's what I mean. Like, nobody, I don't know, maybe there are adults out there who use Santa as leverage all year long to say, you better behave or you're getting the lump of coal. Like maybe those adults out there, you parent how you want to parent. I don't care. Yeah. But I don't know of any like adults who are like, this is really important to me, and it's very important that my kids and grandkids believe in this. Like, that's what I mean, but nobody takes it that seriously. Yeah. I guess it's just a fun thing.
But I guess some people do take it. I mean, seriously, like enough where it's a thing, and we're rolling with it now. And
yeah. And you'll stand in line for 2 hours at the mall to get your picture with this strange man. Like, that's weird. That's really weird that's so ingrained in our world. And I guess it makes for a good picture, but the same mom and dad or grandma and grandpa who's standing in line to get that picture, they actually don't believe in this thing. They know it's just a dude.
I had a good theory when I was in 8th grade, actually.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Oh, there you go. I'm proud of it. It stuck with me because I think it was like confirmation or something. 8th grade, and the pastor of the school I was at, we were talking about like why do you think we give gifts at Christmas, or like Santa comes at Christmas and whatnot. And my answer, it stuck with me because the teacher was like, "Oh, that's a really good answer." So I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'm smart." All right,
maybe I'm smart.
But I wrote down like it gives, because I think a lot of the answers were like it shows that we need to to care for one another, and like remember Christ, or like
the greatest gift of all.
Yeah, and but why, like in Christian household, is Santa sometimes a bigger deal than Santa's bigger deal than Jesus? And the answer I wrote was like, it gives kids something to look forward to, like a reason to celebrate. Because kids are easily, like excited for like, you give them gifts, you show like, you have a surprise for them in the morning when they wake up, and like kids love stories and tales and whatnot. And so in the simplest form, it has given kids all the reason to be excited about Christmas. And I think in some sense it might have, backfired on the aspect of it is taken away from what Christmas actually is.
Yeah, God becoming flesh and, giving salvation. Like, come on, can we spice it up a little bit? Like, let's make it interesting. Oh, okay, all right.
God coming in human form, like, we could do something
We could do
else
better than that.
But I think like I feel like it's just take like it's gotten out of hand maybe, but kids, sure, they are absolutely excited.
It's like Easter egg hunt. It's just like, I'm sure there's a great historical explanation for why the bunny and the chocolate and the eggs.
Yeah.
And I could make a case for, yes, the tomb was like the egg or whatever, but sort of justifying it after the fact in my head doesn't quite explain how it's such a permeating thing in our world. So anyway, Santa's interesting to me.
Yeah. I still want to know what were
Traditions.
Some Weber traditions.
So, I have young kids, so I'll tell you what it's like at our house currently. So as a church worker, we often have a bunch of services on Christmas Eve. All of my previous congregations where I served, both of the previous congregations where I served, had a 10 p.m. service. That was the last one.
Okay.
St. Luke's here, 11 p.m. is a big deal.
I feel like
we got to roll it over till midnight. Otherwise, it doesn't count.
Not gonna lie, if it was between a 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., I say why not just do the 11? If it's one extra hour.
You're right. You're right. No, you're right, Shane. That's why we do it. I go to bed at 10. So the idea of like starting a service at 11, oh, mercy.
I wake up at 10 p.m. I don't know.
So, gosh. Yeah. So I'm typically at church, from maybe noon, certainly by 1, kind of till past midnight. So that's Christmas Eve. And, so we don't do anything on Christmas Eve, but it also means I'm kind of shot on Christmas Day. So we have a 10 a.m. service many years. And so I'm not getting up much before 8:30 because I didn't get home till 1, which means this is probably like a lot of jobs that aren't maybe physically demanding. But I remember even in high school when I got off work, there was this post-work high. Like I was so excited.
Yeah.
I couldn't just like go to sleep.
Yeah.
So like I'm jazzed, and also I probably had some coffee to my performance enhancing drug of choice to get through the service. So if I'm drinking coffee at 8 p.m. to get ready for my 11 o'clock service, it's done at 12:15. I'm visiting till 12:30 ish. I'm home by 1. I'm not asleep till 2. So I'm barely up and at 'em to get to church for 10 a.m. So church goes 10 till 11, same thing, 11:15. We're visiting, we're home 11:45, noon. At that point, it's time to eat because we got grumpy dad and cranky kids. So we get home at noon. We're starting to prepare for lunch, which means, we're probably not eating till 12:45, 1. And so sometimes we might do a couple presents then, but the other thing is we're all spent and tired. And so it's like, you know what, let's just go have our quiet time. We used to have like nap time for the kids, but now we don't have nap time.
On Christmas?
In general, we have like nap time.
Oh, okay.
Or we just need like an hour of, we call it quiet time. And so we might do quiet time from 1 to 2. So at the earliest, we're opening presents at 1 p.m. on Christmas Day. And it might be as late as 2 or 3. I think, we do stockings. So our Christmas traditions are Dad's gone all Christmas Eve. Christmas morning, we'll probably open the stockings before or around breakfast before we go to church. And I will probably just be holding a cup of coffee, staring. I feel
like that's most parents.
That's
honestly.
true. I don't function late. So this 11 o'clock service is it ruins me for days. So stockings. 4 hours later, I'm not there. So I'm just sipping on coffee and telling the kids, I'm not hungover, but I'm like this hungover person just going, shh, can we all just talk a little quieter? And the kids are so excited. I'm just like, it's so loud. It's so loud. So I'm just sipping on my coffee. In the oven, there are orange rolls, like cinnamon rolls, but the orange frosting. So we have orange rolls on Christmas morning for breakfast.
Oh wait, that's a weird also tradition, not Christmas tradition, but my family's also obsessed with those orange cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. But those are different things. But the orange rolls, but they're like cinnamon rolls. But they're just orange. It's like a biscuity sort of thing. Maybe there's cinnamon in there, but it's orange frosting. Orange cinnamon is what you have?
Orange cinnamon rolls.
Maybe that's what we have.
Are they cinnamon rolls?
There's like a little tube where it goes,
yeah,
and then you put them, and then you bake them,
the
and you
orange
put frosting at the end.
You can peel. I guess
maybe there's cinnamon in there. I didn't know. All right.
Yeah, those. Yeah.
Again, I'm not awake for this meal. It's just functional. I'm getting sugar and coffee into me. So we have orange rolls for breakfast with stockings before church, lunch, maybe a nap time, and then we do presents. And then I don't know where this started, but my wife's sister, Aunt Becky, is there. Mm-hmm. Well, I know where that started. It's family, but at some point in this process of opening presents at home, we began the tradition, of you'd open a present and you'd crumple up the paper and you'd throw it at Becky. Every time.
Every time. Everybody does that?
Yeah. So it's got to go somewhere. So sometimes there's like a trash can and with kids especially, if you have paper all over the floor, you're stepping on things, you're breaking the new present. And so you gotta corral the debris in some place. Mm-hmm. And so we just throw it at Becky. And then one year Becky wasn't there. Maybe it was a birthday. This is like birthdays and like everything now. We throw the paper at Becky. And so one time Becky wasn't there, but her sister, my wife, Charlotte was. And one of the kids goes, "Becky's not here." "Well, you're the closest thing." And so they threw it at Charlotte because she's like our substitute Aunt Becky.
Yeah.
So Becky, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I don't know where this started. You might remember. You might have very traumatic memories, but we throw all of our wrapping paper at one designated person forever.
And she puts it in a bag.
She very graciously sort of has accepted this role. We all help pick it up a little bit, but it's it sounds really bad as I'm saying it aloud.
Well, are you tossing it at her? Are you like fast pitching it?
Well, yeah, I'd say it's more of a lob.
Okay.
You're not trying to injure or welt or like there's no malintent. It's more like
playful, like underhand, like
it's
toss.
Playful for us. I'm not sure how engaged Becky is. It's almost like in Elf when he's doing the Jack in the Box testing. Like that's not violent or scary, but it's like kind of the Chinese water torture. Like it's horrible in its own way.
Over time, you go insane.
Yeah, so I feel like Becky's just gonna start twitching, and like so nobody's hurting her. But that's a weird tradition in our house is we throw all of our paper at Becky.
All right.
Yeah. Growing up, we had a train under the tree.
Oh,
like the old heavy duty train
that just circled it, kind of thing?
Yeah, and it always I very vividly remember the smell of like electricity, like this is probably not safe. Like you can smell this metal, electric, almost burning motor.
Oh, yeah. Don't touch the tracks.
Yeah, the heavy duty trains. I remember that was very interesting.
I remember my grandpa had one. So,
and these are substantive cars. They weren't it wasn't like the Snicker bar size of a car. It's more of like a elongated coffee mug. Like it was they were at least in my head anyway, maybe they were tiny, but in my head these were like big heavy duty trains that certainly weren't safe.
But you don't have many more.
They're probably in a box at my dad's house.
Okay.
Among all the spider webs in the attic. So Dad, if you're listening, why don't you set up the train and try not to burn the house down?
Yeah. So in the Christmas foods, like you're saying the orange rolls.
Yeah, orange rolls for breakfast. We don't. I don't know. I feel like we're pretty free with a lot of traditions. So at Thanksgiving we might have a turkey, we might have a ham. I'd be just as happy with lasagna. So I think Christmas is similar. Yeah. We might have a ham, we might have a turkey, we might have lasagna, pizza, whatever. So we don't have any. I don't think any special foods that. It's probably a special meal. Like we'd probably have a sit down meal. That's a quality. Oh, it's special because we sat down together. But there's nothing like, we have to have cranberries and turducken or something.
Yeah. I have a weird question. Does Santa wrap your gifts?
Ooh. So growing up, we would have gifts that were addressed to a child, and the from was left blank. And so there was kind of a nod, like, okay, those are the ones that were from Santa, even though it didn't.
So they were just like in with the rest.
Yeah,
of
it was
them?
just mixed in, and just the from part was blank.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how we did it as a kid, and it was kind of like with a wink. My kids don't get any presents from Santa. I want credit for every gift I give. What? I want you to know who bought this and wrapped this. It was me. It was me. No, it was Charlotte every time. That is funny, by the way. When sometimes I remember as a kid, I don't know, like when maybe one parent buys a gift on behalf of both. And so when the kid's opening it, the other parent's like, I wonder what it is too. Or it's like, who gave you that? Oh, you and mommy did. Like, oh yeah, now I remember.
I think that's my parent gifts also. Right. Yeah. Like my dad was like, what is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember one time as a kid, I opened a present it was Tupperware. And I was like, that's...
How old were you?
Yeah, I was like 7 or 8.
What?
I don't know. And I was like, why? What is the Tupperware? Why was this dumb? And then I think my mom or dad corrected me that the gift was for my mom, and the other parent wrote from Dan. Or Danny, probably. Oh. So it was like, they were giving gifts to each other. Like, this one's from this kid. This one's from this kid. I'm like, this one says Danny. I'm opening into it. Oh. And like Tupperware. And they're like, Tupperware? Why'd you get Tupperware? And they looked at the tag. Oh, it was from you for mom. Yeah. Yeah.
So you did not get...
I didn't get the Tupperware. It was supposed to be from me, but I wasn't in on it. So it was really awkward. Oh, I don't know if that happened much as a kid. That's the only time I remember, and I remember it because I was embarrassed because I opened it was from me for somebody else. But I don't know if my mom and dad did that regularly, if they assigned gifts to other people from ignorant third parties. Another tradition from my kids is they, this is actually really, really sweet. They will give each other their own things. So, I don't know, maybe there's a stuffed animal that one of them really, really liked, and Alexis will give it to her brother. I knew you were playing with this a lot this year, so I wanted you to have it. So they'll just gift things that are their own to somebody else's. And they always remember, like, oh, that's yours. No, I gave it to him, 2 years ago. So one thing is they give each other of their own things, which is really sweet to me. Yeah. And the less sweet tradition, but they have so much fun, is they will wrap things in like 14 layers. So it's like the embedded,
like they like wrapping paper or packaging.
So I might give you a coffee mug, and it's in a box, which is in an Amazon bag, which is in another box, which is in another box, which is in another Amazon bag, which is wrapped.
I think that's fun.
So they do too, and it takes 45 minutes to open, and you get down to it, and she's like, and it's that pen you like to use. There's no payoff. This was a waste of a half hour. So it's such a loving gesture on their part. They show love by giving of their own, and investing in the wrapping for them is part of the gift. And I'm more of the, like, if you get a present that looks like a T-Rex tried to wrap it, that's probably from me.
Oh, I like that.
So my wrapping isn't great. But the kids, that's part of the gift is the adventure of opening it. It's like an escape room. Like, it's just the getting through the journey is part of the gift, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. I think there's journey in it. You remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, we did promise this is going to be a shorter episode, Shane, so we got to get back to abbreviating a little bit of this. Many people go to church Christmas Eve. Fewer people go on Christmas Day. I'll be at both. Would you tell us what Christmas Eve is going to look like here at St. Luke's, in case people are listening and they're in the Western Washington region and maybe they want to join us?
Yes. So we have a 5 p.m. and a 7 p.m. and an 11 p.m. Christmas service. But first, I'm going to touch on
Christmas.
Oh, sorry, on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, St. Luke's has a 5 p.m.,
Saturday?
7 p.m. Saturday. Yeah, this
Saturday, the 24th.
Yes. And
5, 7, and 11.
So Saturday the 24th, 5, 7, 11. I'll touch on the 5 and 7 real quick. So the 5 and 7, I like to describe it as kind of probably the Christmas you expect and that you would remember.
The other one's not so memorable.
Well, no, it's okay. The 11 is I think objectively will be more memorable, but
okay. All right.
But when I say memorable, I mean
what you remember.
Traditional Christmas. So like you're singing the hymns, the carols, hark the herald angels sing, like
scary ghost stories.
Nope. No, but singing the classics with fanfare, choirs, bells, the whole
brass
and brass as well. Okay. So it's the full, like triumphant Christmas celebration service. At the 5 p.m. there'll be kids. The kids have some. The kids choir has some kids like songs they'll be singing.
So children will be helping lead.
Yes, yeah. So children will be helping lead at the 7. If you don't care to watch children perform, then you can go to the 7 o'clock service. They're pretty identical, but the 5 p.m. has the children's choir in that. And depending on your planning, you'll need to go to the 5 or 7 for family reasons. But yeah, choir, bells, brass, organ, the
classic Christmas carols.
Christmas. Yep. The 11 o'clock, really excited for, has very much taken shape into, so it's at 11 o'clock, and so I'm kind of having fun with it. Okay. So it is more contemporary Christmas, but I'm pulling out all the stops for it. So
which is a reference to the pipe organ, by the way.
But there isn't organ.
Okay.
There will be a Hammond organ sound effect, I guess technically on the.
So 11
on
o'clock, more contemporary.
More contemporary, but there will also be brass with that too.
Okay.
There'll be a glockenspiel. There will be sleigh bells.
Nice.
I highly encourage you to go to the 11 o'clock in addition to a 5 or a 7.
Okay. I was asked earlier today, will there be a message, like a sermon at the 11 o'clock service?
Will there be?
Yeah. And I said, yeah.
But
and they said, but people might fall asleep, so it shouldn't be boring. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do my best. And then they asked, is it going to be the same message? And I said, yes.
But I don't want that to be any. So
I just want people not to be disappointed. It will be the same sermon at St. Luke's at 5, 7, and 11, but the experience will be different.
The experience will be entirely different. And so I like to say that the message is the same because some people only go to the 11. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to water anything. We want you to hear. You put days into crafting this impeccable message.
I'll have something to say. That's for sure.
Well, I think
impeccable is a generous word.
Well, it'll be great, and I hear every message you hear. Christmas Eve in 2020, I heard your message 5 times
because we did all the COVID.
We did
services.
5 services. Yeah,
it doesn't hurt to hear it more than once.
No, and and on top of that, the 11 o'clock service has a fun lead into the message. I don't want to spoil, but
it'll be different.
It will be different. Okay. And you will feel, what's the word I'm looking for? You will not feel disappointed if you go to the 11 o'clock and the 5 o'clock or the 11 and the 7 o'clock.
I'm going to be at all 3, to be honest.
Well, yeah, you have to be.
Also, you didn't mention candles.
Oh yeah, each of the services have our candlelight. So at the end of the service, everyone will have a lit candle. Yeah. Kids will have electronic candles.
And moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, you can decide if your kids.
So I mean, you parents, your kids, decide if what they would be appropriate for them. But we have the option of electronic or candle. But I imagine most people are going to have real candles.
It's felt unintentionally misleading in the past when churches. My churches do the same thing. We call it a candlelight service when really there's like a 4-minute candlelight component.
That's
which is
true.
cool. I think that's what people expect, but when I see it in print, I'm like, well, it's not a candlelight. It's not that we don't have lights and we're going to have candles the whole time.
Yeah.
So there will be a candle light component
section within the service,
which is beautiful. It's what people expect. It's what you remember. It's just if somebody hasn't gone to church ever or in a long time, you might hear or read that and think, wow, that's a candlelight service. But that's not what it is.
Mm-hmm. And
but all three, 5, 7, 11 will have that candlelight component.
Yeah. And I will also add to that 7 o'clock, if in case somebody's expecting very meditative
at 11.
So specifically, if somebody's expecting meditative or acoustic unplugged, it's not. It's dynamic. So there's moments where it's celebration,
dynamic, yeah,
and there's also moments where it is reflective and passionate. Okay. So there's a bit of both.
Okay.
But again, completely very different style of services.
Okay. And then Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, it's more of a your favorite Christmas carols that we didn't get to on Christmas Eve. It's kind of
because there's a lot.
There's a surprise. I mean, there's a lot of Christmas carols, and we can't get to all of them. So Christmas Day at 10 a.m. Is we're kind of diving into a bit of those Christmas hymns that we didn't get to sing, and a bit of kind of explanation and a bit of maybe history to them as well.
Cool. And we'll have the Holy Communion, Lord's Supper.
Eucharist,
10 a.m.
That as well. It will be a communion service as well, 10 a.m., just one service.
Yeah. So if you're in Western Washington area, we'd love to have you join us. It's a good time to celebrate, good time to be family. We'll have a picture taking station in the lobby set up. We'll have it'll be decorated, it'll be beautiful. Take a family picture if you want. I think it's also a time where maybe there's somebody you'd want to invite, and it doesn't have to be weird. You're not asking them to join your religion or to give up their lifestyle, but maybe it's just to say, hey, here's something that's really important to me. I think you might enjoy it. Would you want to come? And I think a lot of people maybe would be more open to that than we expect. If you're listening to our show or watching, you might not be in the Western Washington area. I'd encourage you find a church. Consider a place to go on Christmas Eve. We here on the podcast we try to just have conversation about real life. We're not necessarily like pushing religion or faith. We're not embarrassed or holding back about sharing who we are and what we believe. And so we don't end every episode with give your life to Jesus or make sure you go to church. But I will say Christmas Eve is special. Chances are that there's a church nearby that has put a lot of thought and work into putting together an experience and a message that's going to be significant. And so there's a reason many people go to church on Christmas and Easter, and it's not just because grandma wants them to. There's most likely a message of hope, and a lot of feel goods around the music and the people.
Yeah.
So
being around, people for Christmas, I think it's an important part that you also shouldn't be alone like this.
Yeah.
In general,
there's community there. So I'd say, again, listeners, I hope you're not offended, but we don't push a whole lot, and I don't see this as a push, but I'll just say it. I'd encourage you find a church on Christmas Eve if you haven't been for a while ever, or maybe just missed a few weeks. Saturday the 24th, find a local place to worship. If you don't know where to go, you can send us an email 2414@stlukes-church.com, and we'll help you find a church where you are. Where if I lived there or had a family member there, I will give you a recommendation. Here's where I'd go, or here's a few options. So if you're not quite sure where to start, because frankly, there are some weird churches, and they all are not endorsed or good. And I wouldn't send my family or friends to many churches.
Yeah.
So that can be a daunting thing. So find one on your own. Send us an email. We'll help connect you with one. And go enjoy the community, enjoy the music, enjoy the message.
And one more update for the podcast itself.
Oh yeah, thanks, Shane.
Yeah. So it's a busy season.
We're tired.
If you couldn't tell from us explaining everything that's going on, because of that, we think it'd be a good point to wrap up the series, not the show, the series. So the season 1. Oh no, season. Sorry, not season, not series. Gosh. Okay, season.
The calendar.
Wrap up the season with this episode because we'll be busy and all over the place for the next few weeks.
So we're taking a few weeks off.
Yeah, so we'll be taking a few weeks off. When we come back, it's going to be a brand new season.
You can expect first half, middle of January to get the next episode.
Yeah, so sometime in January we'll begin again and ramp up for the new. For the new season, what's ahead.
A big part of the show is just talking about real life, and off air, Shane and I are just saying, man, I don't want this to be a burden. We could crank out episodes, but I think for our just health, mental, emotional, and time management, let's just take a break because we're free, and I think that's a beautiful thing to sort of embrace that freedom to say it's okay.
Yeah. So you use that opportunity, maybe catch up.
Yeah,
maybe spread the word. Hey, we got a whole catalog now.
Yeah, if you go to your podcast feed and you forget that we're not going to be there, why don't you take that moment, leave a review? We've asked before, and I realize some people have, most don't. That's just real life. It is what it is. We don't take it personally, but it really does help if you can take literally 30 seconds, and you don't just have to say we're awesome. Tell people what to expect. Hey, here's why you listen to the show. Here's what somebody could expect. Maybe you could warn somebody away so they don't waste their time. If they're looking for expert advice and really somber discussions and expository investigation of the text of Scripture, this isn't that show. And so you might spare someone. You're going to hear a couple guys having fun, talking about real life. Sometimes there's a point. A lot of times there's not. They might go on a tangent, but hopefully you laugh. Hopefully it gives you something to think about. Hopefully it prompts some further conversation. So we're going to take a few weeks off. Use those weeks to rest yourself, to get caught up on some back episodes, to leave a review, and to enjoy.
Yeah. So enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your New Year's, enjoy your family, friends, whatever you've got going on.
Scary ghost stories.
We'll hopefully see you on the 24th at 5, 7, or 11.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Woo.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.